You just found the #1 Group of Five football podcast in the world. This is the Group of Five guys. We are here to bring hype, pride, excitement, and recognition to the Group of Five football programs. You can help us do that by giving us a like, giving us a share, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating and a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast. You can follow us on all the social media platforms at Group of Five Guys, or you could go to groupof5guys.com. Get you some sweet Group of Five Guys swag. This is a little shorter show. We call it Inside Drill. We got about a 15, 20-minute interview with Adam Petrus of Zebra Sports. Going to be really, really, really good, interesting. A lot about the football technology and some of the future that's coming to the football world.
I don't have any tooth. I'll admit it. I will brag. Those players did not just go and whip that ass for us to be like, oh, good game. No, we whipped your ass. We took $800,000. Now we're going to party with it.
Yeah, who cares if you're in the Power 5 conference if you don't win it, ever? Or you don't beat any of the teams in it? Like, what's the point of that? Wouldn't you rather win the conference and say, like, hey, my team is good, than lose the conference and say, well, our conference is good?
Look, they don't call me Tip for nothing. And my tip is, look out for the Group of Five this season. They've been taking it to the Power 5 year after year.
The only quarterbacks that ever get any love are from the Power 5. I can easily list off the top Group of 5 quarterbacks I would rather have than those guys. I would be willing to bet that at least one of them is going to be in the running for the Heisman this year.
Down the middle, James, the lateral to the corner of the end zone. Can you believe that?
Guys, in this episode of Inside Drill with Group of Five Guys, we've got for you technology folks, for you analytics folks, for you probably future of football folks. This is going to be something you're going to want to listen to, especially coming off the combine and leading up to the NFL draft. We've got Adam Petrus of Zebra Sports joining the Group of Five Guys today. We met this guy down in Mobile, had an awesome conversation at the Senior Bowl. He's been kind enough to jump on with us. Adam, good to see you. Thank you, sir, for coming on.
Hey, guys, great to be back with the G5, man. Thanks for having me on.
No question about it. We'll get right into it. And we talked a lot in Mobile, but why don't you start off just a broad, 30,000 feet perspective? What's Zebra Sports? What's the technology? And tell us about you and your company.
Yeah, so it's awesome. So I work for Zebra Technologies, and we have our sports division, Zebra Sports, that is the official partner of the NFL for the player and ball tracking that delivers the data that feeds Next Gen Stats. So I'm sure all of your fan base out there knows about Next Gen Stats. You know that the cheetah is one of the fastest guys, out there on the football field. But when you break it down, there's science and technology behind it all. And we have been the official partner of the NFL for real-time location solutions and services for the last 9 seasons. And I'm happy to report we just signed a 3-year extension, taking us through the 2025 season. So I think that says a lot about what we're doing. But what's really cool for you and your fan base and the listeners is that Zebra Technologies is a company that's been around for 50 years. If you think about the zebra, it's a black and white sort of logo, right? An animal. But that's how we started as a barcoding company. So if you think about all the barcodes in the world, that's where Zebra really started off. And now, 50 years later, we have bought robotics companies, computer visioning, and we're doing some really state-of-the-art things. And one of the big things that we have done that's translated into the world of sports is what we were doing for logistics, manufacturing, hospitals, retail, and that is the tracking of real-time assets. And the NFL came to us as the global leader of asset RFID tracking, and they said, hey, our most important asset are the players and the football. Can you track it? And we said, you know it. And that's what we've been doing for 9 seasons ever since, using RFID, UWB technology, where we're able to put RFID tags under the epaulets of the shoulder pads, as well as in the ball itself. We've got a really proprietary computer chipset tag that goes underneath into the bladder of this football. Now, Wilson, who makes the NFL football, has their own proprietary special way of doing this, but I'm here to tell you it only weighs a few grams. And the quarterbacks, the players, the kickers, the K-balls, nobody knows or even feel that ball. So it doesn't impact performance, just as the tags that we put on the shoulder pads doesn't impact their performance, but it measures bursts of speed, fastest rate of speed, deacceleration data, change of movement. We can tell you that 100-yard kickoff return was actually 147 yards because of the zigzag, and their fastest rate of speed was 21.87 miles per hour.
Yeah, and it was really cool. And we all, we passed around the football a little bit in Mobile. And not that I touched a whole lot of footballs in my life being an offensive line guy, but you don't notice a difference at all. I mean, you can't even tell. And then it's really cool, too, down there at the Senior Bowl. They're showing quarterbacks, for example, the speed of their throw, the velocity of their throw. And it's, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Adam, it's up to, I mean, it's live data, right? It's up to the second.
Yeah. That's the beauty. We call our technology RTLS, and that means real-time location services. So because we're using RFID, we're able to sit up in the press box and read that data as it's coming in through live. We're talking about the lag time from it actually happening to us seeing it on the screen is probably about 16 milliseconds. So that's what's really so cool. And how we apply this in the NFL or even at the Senior Bowl, but more so in the NFL, we're the official partner. So every single game of every week of football for the last 9 seasons, to include the international series, we've tracked every play. So that means that in order to do that, right, you've got to have a quality system. But what's really cool is that NFL teams have come to us, and we ended up developing a practice solution so that a third of the NFL teams use our game day solution as their practice solution. So we've outfitted their entire facilities, their indoor fields, their outdoor fields. And so that way they can evaluate talent, guys that they're going to try out or rehabilitate coming back from an injury. And they can actually be on the field with one of our Zebra rugged tablets and actually monitor the performance. And what's cool about that is that we're in this modern world of sports and wellness and like optimal performance. So for example, you can take whoever your favorite team is, right? And you've got quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, the skills guys, especially the skills guys. And you can say, hey, in today's practice, Tyreek Hill, I only want to see you at 75% of your max speed through periods 5, 6, 7, and 8. And these could be 7-on-7 drills, or these could just be footwork drills, running routes. But the cool thing about that is that you can actually evaluate and you can set those thresholds. So I know that Tyreek Hill is going at 75%. If I see him going 80, I go, hey, I need you to bring it down just a little bit, because every team today has a director of sports science or director of sports performance, and they're sitting down with the head coach and they're crafting the workouts to make sure that they're going to get optimal performance out of the big boys, the skills guys, the kickers, and the throwers.
So with the technology being fairly new, being around 9 years, did the coaches embrace it right away, or did it take some getting used to by certain coaches, or how did that work?
Yeah, so it's a great question. And there's an old joke I love to tell, and that's the sense that in today's football world, and even when we started out, there are coaches and GMs that believe in data analytics and sports science, and then there's former coaches and GMs. Because in the modern world, you have to embrace that it's part of the toolkit. Now, I'm not going to say it's the everything, but really in the modern world, there is something behind data. You see data being used in every aspect of our own lives, right? People track their sleep, right? They look at their sleep habits. They track what they eat. Why wouldn't you want to have a tracking solution that could look at your player's performance? And we call it load, right? When you're an athlete and you're in practice, you want to look at what's the load management? How much effort am I putting on that athlete today in practice? Because, hey, when we were growing up, right, not like we're super old guys, right, but when we were growing up, if the coach said today was going to be a hard workout, well, what did that mean? Did that mean we were going to run more laps? Did it mean we were going to have more conditioning? Were we going to go full go? Well, guess what? If the coach says there's going to be a hard practice today in modern sports, and especially in the NFL, you've got the data to prove and say, yeah, that was a hard workout compared to last week, Wednesday or Thursday's practice, or the day before. So what we are seeing is that every team now has gone from 9 years ago to today. There are more data analysts on every football club. There are more directors of sports science and sports performance. And so it is becoming more part of the general scheme of this is how we go about going into the week of battle in the modern National Football League.
Do you see, Adam, the combine just happened, and we talked about this in Mobile. Do you see a day when they're going to update some of the drills where, a guy runs a 40 right now and he gets in a stance and he runs a 4-4, but those 4 seconds, 4.5 seconds could be determined by his start out of his stance, which he will never, ever do on a football field. So do you see an application where maybe they've got your technology on their shoulder or somewhere and they make them, fall down, get up, run 40 yards? Because that's more applicable to an actual game situation.
Hey, I'm right there with you. And so, Troy Vincent, the executive director, vice president of operations for the NFL, has been talking about this reimagined combine. And the good news is that, for this year, they publicly announced that we were tracking every player for the drills and the skill sets, which is a great start. And so the NFL is getting that data. I believe they're going to be releasing that to all the teams. So it's it's an even level playing field. But to your point, the thing about the combine is that, they call it the job interview, and you're right, 40 yard, dash, as we would say back in the day, is not a football drill, right? Like that is simply lining up, and some guys are good starters, some guys are great finishers, but at the end of the day, that's not true playing speed. And I think that's the difference of what our technology can help at the combine is when these guys are running drills, that's where you really see max speed, effort, potential. Like I want to see a guy be able to change direction, right? I want him to run a 15-yard route. Can he break separation? And then how fast is he able to make that cut? And then conversely, I think a data point that's always been undervalued is de-acceleration. How fast can you slow down to change direction? And I think those are some of the difference makers. And over time, if you look at some of the data collection, the guys that can create separation are really good at fastly slowing down. And so your ability to really drop your speed down quickly is the ability to create cushion and separation. So I'm hopeful that we're going to see more and more of the scouts and the evaluators looking at that data to say, hey, yeah, the 40 is good. He had a bad start. He's got speed. He's got playing speed. That's really what I want to focus on. And, a great example, I think we talked about this when we were in Mobile, was a year ago, you had Tariq Woolen out of Texas State University, or TSU.
UTSA.
Yeah, that's it. San Antonio, who ended up being picked up by the Seahawks, right? And he had a phenomenal season. We saw how fast this guy was. First of all, he's like 6'2". He's got amazing speed. And what happened was he was doing one-on-one drills. And, of course, we were tracking in real time. I was in the press box for this. And he was doing press coverage, and he got beat. He got beat on the line, and so he ended up generating the fastest time of the entire Senior Bowl since the history we've been tracking over the last 4 seasons. And the reality is that he was in catch-up mode. And so we saw him with full helmet, shoulder pad, cleats, knee pads, the whole kit. And that was impressive because that's playing speed. And so I think, to your point, we want to see more of that at the combine versus guys just lining up and showing pure, race speed.
Yeah, and I think that's why events like the Senior Bowl, where you have real-time data on the field, and not that there's anything wrong with the combine. I think the combine definitely serves a purpose, but being able to have all the data come out in a game-like scenario with the full pads on, in situations that are game-like, it's so much more valuable to coaches and to staff and people trying to evaluate the talent.
You hear there's buzz about it, right? You see the stories and they're referencing the data from the practices. So, my hat's off to Jim Nagy and the Senior Bowl for evolving the technology into being able to really feature these all-star athletes. And with, there's a double-edged sword to anything, right? If you perform well, you've got the potential to, improve your draft stock. If you don't perform well and the data doesn't support what you thought or what you may have been doing up until that point, then, we say the data doesn't lie. But to your point, visually, when you see somebody make a move, you're like, wow, that was fast. And now to have the data behind it and tell the story, I think for all of us as consumers, that's really interesting, especially as you then look at how the NFL and you look, the Senior Bowl is really well attended by scouts, GMs, coaches. And when you make a name for yourself and then you've got the data to tie to it, you've just developed a proof point that is going to stick in people's minds.
Right away, I go to Tyjae Spears down there. I mean, that dude,
Yes.
you just see it, you see the moves, and then you see him up on the screen like, oh, yeah, he's the quickest guy here, and we saw it, and now the data proves it. There's nothing you could, just no denying it. And that's where,
No, I mean,
us as group of five guys, or as some people would say, smaller school guys, you look at a guy like that maybe is getting judged on lesser competition, or maybe the guys aren't supposed to be as big or as fast, but then you go down to the Senior Bowl or you go to the Combine. The data is the data, man, and you can't deny it.
That playing field becomes level for everybody, right? And that's where I love, the opportunity for a D3 guy or a Division I AA to come out there and to perform, right? And we had, you had Tyson out there spinning it.
Yep.
And so from a quarterback standpoint, right, we're looking at, arm strength, right? Everybody talks about the hand size, and then does he have a strong enough arm? Well, what's cool is when you look at the past quarterbacks that have come through from you had Baker Mayfield a few years back, you had Malik Willis just last year, and then you had Buffalo Bills quarterback the very first year that we were doing the tracking, right? Yeah, you had Allen. So look, you got guys that are separating themselves, but also on one stage you're going to be like, look, he's right where Josh Allen was 4 years ago when he was at his Senior Bowl, or his numbers are even better. So what's the potential, right? And not everything is an indicator of future success, but when you're looking at the data and you just want to do an A/B comparison, you've got that opportunity to say, hey, we've got something here to keep our eye on.
Yeah, Adam, I got one more question, and then we'll let you go. I know you're down there on the beach, so it's nice and warm. You might want to go get a little tan. So from
I'll take you up on that.
Yeah, I'm jealous of you. From a health and safety standpoint, you talked about the ability to measure a guy. Hey, we want you to stay around 70% load management. What about let's even say an in-game, similar to how they have the concussion protocol? Do you see where, let's say a guy has a knee or an ankle and he's saying, I feel good, he looks good from the eye test, but maybe he's trying to go 100%, and the data's just showing you ain't getting there. You're only 75%. Do you see something where maybe that holds him out, or they, I know an ankle or a knee is different from the head, but do you see that coming in the future?
So we don't see it so much in game, in venue, but where a lot of that comes into play is, the teams that have our solution for practice. Absolutely, it happens all the time where a guy, week 6 gets injured, right? But up until that point, you have all these weeks and preseason weeks of data. So what his max speed is, what his 80% looks like, what his 10 route times in his cut and his deceleration numbers look like. So when they get injured and they're on their return to play program, right? And so then it's week 10 of rehabilitation. And he says, Coach, I'm ready to go, man. Like, I'm ready. I want to play. I want to score. I want to contribute to the team. And they go out there and they run drills. And it comes back that he's only, 87% healthy. They then can make that the decision. But at the end of the day, that's the beauty of the data, right? Is to be able to actually have the true apple-to-apple comparison. And I have talked to strength and conditioning coaches and directors of sports performance where, they have a threshold. If they're not at that 90 or above, then they're going to have to wait another week until they know that ankle is strong enough, or if that calf muscle, that lower body tissue is 100% healthy before they risk putting that $1 million star out on the field only to pull a muscle again. So to your point, it is being used in practice. I think that the way that the system works is that the teams don't get the data until post-processing on game day. So, and the other cool, interesting thing here, the competition committee did a few years back was that, now every team in the NFL, so if it's the Bills playing New England and Cleveland's playing Cincinnati, after that Sunday of games, every NFL team gets every NFL team's data. And it's up to them to figure out what's important as they get ready for their next week of football. Because they determined, look, if everybody gets video, let's take it up to the next modern level. Let's give you the data. Now it's up to you to figure out how you can really take advantage of it.
No more Bill Belichick milking the injury reports.
That's
Just
it.
Not giving my Dolphins anything, man.
That's it.
Well, that's all the questions I got for you. Real quick, before we let you go, where can listeners or viewers find a website or social media? Where can they find you?
Yeah, so you can find Zebra Technology is a global company. We're doing some great things in the world of sports, science, entertainment, but we also, we're a name brand from retail to hospital, healthcare, retail, manufacturing, logistics. But anyways, zebratechnologies.com. But then, of course, if you're into the data, go to nextgenstats.com, ngs.com, and you're going to find some great storylines about all the data that we're pulling together to tell the stories about the NFL's greatest athletes.
Love it, man. Thank you, Adam, so much for coming on. Murph, that was tight, dude.
Dude, that was awesome. I mean, I had no idea how in depth the data goes and what all they can track, and especially now, for our group of 5 guys, how that can benefit them, because now they can measure up with some of these Power 5 guys on the field, whether it's at the Senior Bowl, on the combine, and what you see on tape and what you see, in practice. Now you kind of have some data to back it up.
I think the big thing is going to be for teams like your Raiders, especially, honestly, when you have the guy that comes out of nowhere and runs the 4.3 40, where it's like, okay, yeah, he ran the good 40, but now let's watch the tape. Maybe it's okay. Now let's measure the in-game speed with next gen, and might not tell the same story.
See, and to me, that's what's most important is, like, 40's great, shuttle drill's great, but it's when you're full padded up in practice or in a game, when you have the data and analytics to be like, okay, this guy really he can go, or this guy's got the arm whip, got the velocity while under pressure, sitting in the pocket, not just in shorts and no shoulder pads and no helmet. So I think it just proves, solidifies the eye test on what you kind of see when it comes to players or recruits or draft picks.
Yeah, that's right. And then, especially too with the 40, like, even if a guy sets a record on a 40 and runs a 4.2 something, like, it ain't that much faster than a guy that's running a 4.4 or 4.5. I mean, over the course of 40 yards, I mean, you're still, neck and neck for the most part. So, now, like Adam was talking about, if you have somebody that can get separation at the line and then turn on the jets, that's where you get the guys like the Tyreek Hills of the world that he's talking about.
Absolutely, especially when they have the ball. The ball. That's another thing too. It's like running with the ball and putting your hand down on turf and just running full speed straight ahead is two completely different things. And like he was talking about deceleration and then acceleration again, where you got to stop, make a move, and now we got to get back to full speed. I think it's just it's pretty cool that all the NFL teams are bought in. I'm curious to see if any of the college bigger schools probably will start it first, but we'll kind of get on board with it.
Yeah, it's definitely exciting. And then if you're a scout, a GM, or a coach, now you're looking for that perfect guy that checks all the boxes. Okay, had a great senior year or junior year or whatever, had a great college career. Okay, now he goes to the combine, he interviews well, he runs good times, he benches good, whatever. And you can check off the data points. Yeah. You're really looking for probably a can't miss if you can find a guy like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, man, that's all we got for you guys. Quick interview. Adam, thank you so much for coming on. Christian, thank you for setting it up for us. Adam Petrus, Zebra Sports or Zebra Technologies. You guys find him on Twitter or Instagram, and then you go to the website. You can look at some of the data. I think the Senior Bowl website has some of the data from the Senior Bowl, that they collected over the course of that week. But thank you guys for listening. If you do like the show, give us a like, give us a subscribe. Follow us on all the social media platforms at Group of Five Guys. This has been Inside Drill. We're gone.